Good day everyone, it's your favorite coach Larry FX Academy once again. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the SMA strategy. Now, this is actually a moving average strategy that helps you to be able to analyze making use of indicators. Now, these indicators helps you with getting strategic points on where to make your entries, executions for a buy, and strategic points to take your entries for a sell. Now that SMA strategy actually is one of the strategies that has helped me to be able to take such entries you can see on this my chart. And even if you should move down to the volatility in this chart, you would see it also helped with this particular entry. Now, if we should go down to the volatility 50, it also gave an entry here even if I've not entered that particular trade. Now let's get down to business, setting up our indicators. The first thing you do is you go to the indicator section beside the hourly H4 and then you click on add the F sign. Now when you click on the F sign, what you simply do, it brings you to this indicator sections. Now you click on moving average. Now moving average is below the Ichimoku indicator, so you just click on that moving average. Now when you select moving average, what you are to basically do is to come down to period and then you select period 48, and then the shift you leave it at 0, the method you leave it at simple, then the apply to you leave it at close. Now for the style, you simply set it at the 2 pixel. Now this 2 pixel, I will simply be increasing it from 2 pixel to at least a 4 pixel, and then the color will be selecting yellow, and then all you do is you click on save. Now we've set the first indicator. Now let's go to the chart and so you see what we just did. You can see the first indicator we set is up on the chart basically. Now this is the first stage or the first step. Now we'll go back to the indicator section. We'll click on that F sign and then we'll click on that moving average again. Now when we click on moving average again, we want to set another moving average that would also help and guide us to be able to analyze the market better. Now we'll click on moving average 14. Now the shift remains at 0, the method remains at simple, and the apply to remains at close. Now for the style, we actually will reduce the style to 2, and then the color will be fixing a blue color, and then all we do, we go back and we click on save. Now when you go back to the chart, you will find out that your chart basically would look like this. Your chart basically will look like this. Now, what does this strategy help you to do? This strategy actually helps you to be able to understand the market, understand the move, and pick very profitable directions that will help you make reasonable profits in your trading accounts. Now, we'll go back to the F sign. We'll click on this F sign, and then we'll click on moving average. Now, this 14, we have to now adjust it, and we select 7, basically. Now, the shift remains at 0, the method remains at simple, and the apply to remains as close. Now, all we'll simply do to adjust our entry is we pick style remains 2, but then the color changes. We select the red color. Now, there's a reason for all of these colors, which I will be explaining on the strategy when explaining how to implement the strategy. Now, we'll click on save. The next we'll be doing is, okay, now when we click on save, let's go to the chart and see. You can now see that a red moving average has been added to our chart. So that is the moving average we just added. Now, to run down what we just added, this moving average, the yellow moving average is a moving average 47. The blue moving average is a moving average 14, and the 7 moving average is a moving average 7. Now, let's go back to adding our next indicator. Now, the next indicator we'll be adding is our MACD indicator. Our MACD indicator. Now, we'll scroll down. Under oscillator, we can see MACD indicator under force index. So, we'll click on MACD. So, now that MACD, we already have all the settings here, but then I have to run you guys down through how the settings is being done. So, we basically, now this is it. So all you simply do is you come down to this fast EMA, you select it as 7. Now slow EMA, you select it as 9, and then the MACD SMA, you select 7 basically. Now apply to, you leave it at close, and then that is it. So you don't tamper with any other data. You can actually tweak this main and maybe just select it to 2. It makes it a little bit thicker. And then all you do, you click on, you click on save. Sorry about that disturbance. So all you do, you click on save. Now when you click on save, you come back, you can now see the indicator we just added, which is this indicators here. You can see we have the 797 implemented here. So it's just the setting we use for this particular strategy. Now, aside that, we go back to our indicator section, and then we are still adding indicators. So what is the last indicator we will be adding? The last indicator we'll be adding to this particular chart is the average directional movement index. So now that this average directional movement index is the last indicator we'll be adding. So when you click on it, it's already set to the original period. But now what you simply do, if yours is set to a different number, you come here and you pick period 14. And then the style, you leave it at 3. This color, you can decide to select any color you wish, but I'll leave the color just as it is there. And then now originally on your own chart, you will have something like this, something like a green and something like a red. Now what you simply do is we select this green and we'll set it to white. We select the red and we'll set it to white. Now we don't want to see this on our chart. That is why we set it as our background color. So if you have a black background color, you set it at black. You understand? So whichever background color you have, you set it to your background color, this particular positive and negative pixel. So it's on that style. So that is what you'll be doing. Now having done that, we now come to levels. Now under levels, what we do is, I can click on delete now. Now you click on this plus sign to add, and then you come to this beside description where you have 0, you select 26, which is 26, and then under description you come here and select, you write strong buy or sell. So there's a reason for this, and actually I would explain that on the chart. Now for this color, you actually can come and select whichever color you wish to select, which is okay with you, and then the pixel, you select it as 2 pixel. And when you are done with that, you go back and then you click on save. Now all of these indicators have been saved on our chart. Now when we come here, you can see that we have all the indicators saved on our chart. You can either decide to make them smaller, or you can decide to make them bigger. Now how do you make use of this indicator? Now we already have an area where this indicator played out really nicely. So that is what I'll be using for this example and for the sole purpose of helping you understand how to use this indicator in entering a buy or in entering a sell. Now for this particular video, I'll be making 2 examples of how you can take a sell with this indicator and how you can take a buy on this with this indicator. And I'll be making those 2 examples. A buy, I'll look for a sell trade on this, which we already have, and a buy trade on this volatility 50. Then I'll go to another market and give us an example on a sell trade and on a buy trade basically. Now what we simply did is this, or what we simply do. Now the first confirmation you have to look in this market is this. You have to look at this section where we have the strong buy or sell, and then you look at your line, which is this 26 line. You have to check, is this blue line, is it above your 26 line? If it is above your 26 line, then that is your confirmation number 1, that the market is beginning to be strong for an execution, which is for an entry, for either a buy or a sell, based on how these indicators will show you the direction which we are coming to shortly. Now all we need to look out for on this particular section, which is the ADX 14, is we need to see the blue line above our 26 line, and that is our first confirmation to take a trade. Now you can actually have a pen and paper to write it down. If it's above, you pick confirmation number 1 ticked, which is good. Now after you've done that, the next thing you should be looking out for is this MACD. Now, the MACD shows you the direction of the market. If the MACD is facing towards the downside, if it shows its tick towards the downside, it tells you that the market is ripe for a sell. You understand? And when it goes, if it shows you its tick to the upside, it shows you the market is ripe for a buy. So now we are currently playing around a downtrend. Market goes above this line. It shows us that the market is strong for either a sell or for a buy. Now, we now see this MACD shows these ticks to the downside. That tells us that the market is strong for a what? Sell. And then what do we look out for at this particular area, which is the moving average area? We want to see the market, the yellow line. We want to see the yellow line above the red and the blue line, which is we want to see the 48 moving average above the 7 moving average and the 14 moving average. And then what do we do when we see that? We can now initiate a sell, and then we put our stop loss above this particular trend line, you understand, this particular moving average, sorry. So now there are two ways you can put your stop loss. You can either make your entry when you get this candlestick close below your moving average 48. You understand? You can put your stop loss either at the resistance, or you decide to put your stop loss above this line, moving average 48, the candlestick that closed into that line, which is this particular candlestick. You just put your stop loss above it. Now let me try to make it a little bit clear so that you can see what I'm saying. So what will you be doing? You will simply be putting your stop loss at this particular price above it, and that is it for your sell trade. Now, when do you execute? When do you close out of the market? You close out of the market when you have all the moving average, which is the blue and the red moving average, close with full body candlestick above this 14 line. That is when you exit the market. So when you take your sell there, you exit when you have the two moving out the candlestick, which is the bullish candlestick, close above your 14 line. That is how you exit your trade using this particular strategy. Now, we have a market which is currently giving us a structure. What do? We have to now go to smaller time frames to look for a confirmation on this particular trade. Let's see if we would have one. Very good. So what can we see? We can see that we have all the moving averages. Okay, not yet all the moving averages. We have only the red moving average and the yellow moving average. So the yellow moving average, we have only the red moving average below the yellow moving average. The 14 moving average has not crossed below the yellow moving average. So we don't have an entry yet. Now we still have another signal at this particular second MACD level, which is the MACD 977. MACD 797 basically. We can see that the lines are already beginning to tick at the downside, telling us that there's a strength of the market towards the downside. And that is one confirmation. Now, when can we execute? Enter the trade. We can only enter the trade when this 26 moving average is basically above this 26 line. So, when this 26 blue line is above this 26 line, then we can execute by taking an entry for a sell. You understand? Now, that is how to get an entry for a sell trade. Now, let's look for how to get an entry for a buy trade. Now, we have this already here. So, it's basically the inverse of everything. Now, this is a buy trade opportunity. So, this is a buy trade opportunity. How do you execute your entry? Now, on this buy trade opportunity, what are you looking out for? First of all, you are looking out for this moving average where you have the strong buy or sell. You are looking out for this moving average to be above this particular blue 26 line. So once the moving average is above your 26 line, that is your first confirmation. You write it down. Now, you now have to look at this MACD. You want your MACDs to be printing lines above this 0.000 level. Now, when it's doing that, that is your next entry confirmation. You understand? You note that down. Now, after you've gotten your confirmation on the first and the second level, which is on the ADX and on the MACD, you now have to take your confirmation on the moving averages. Now, what do you look out for on the moving averages? you look out for the blue and red moving average, which is the 14 and 7 moving average, to be above the yellow moving average, which is the 48 moving average. Now, when you see that the market is above it, which is the candlestick is above it, just like you see a close of bullish candlestick here, you can now execute your entry. And then where do you put your stop loss? You put your stop loss below the candlestick which gave that close above, which is this particular candlestick. Now, let me pick my line. So you simply pick it at this point. So this is where you have your stop loss. Now, when do you exit out of this particular market? You can see that this trade was actually a very short trade. You took an entry here, and then you can exit when the two candlestick closes below, which is here. You close your trade. Now, it gave another entry at this point where it's closed above. You can decide to take your entry again for a buy. And then you can see it's closed below all the candlestick, which is here. And then you close out your trade. So this is how to actually analyze the market and take entries on each of these positions. You understand? And make profits using the volatility 50 market. Now, let's go to another market and analyze to see how this trade would actually work on there. So now let's go to the volatility 50. So on this volatility 50, basically, if you should look at it, we are currently on the higher time frame. We are currently selling out. We're actually hoping to get a drop. So that is that for this particular one. But now, before all of that, let's look for another. We don't have a clear entry on this one. We actually have entries though. Let's look for an entry for both a buy and for a sell. Okay, good. So we have an entry here for a sell. Now, what do you simply do? On this one, we have a point where market actually on the strong buy and sell, which is the ADX level. We have the point where market actually gave us a close above the 26th line. Now, this 26th line, when we had market close above, we simply do what? We simply wait for market to close above the 26th line, which is the blue line, to close above the 26th line. Once it gets above the 26th line, that is our first confirmation. Now, our second confirmation, just as I've said, is you want to wait for market to show you ticks to the downside, which is lines to the downside of this particular MACD. Now, that is our second confirmation. Now, our final confirmation is taking our entry based on these particular candlesticks on the yellow line. Now, we wait for this bearish candlestick to give a candlestick close below our yellow line. That is our first entry confirmation. And then you can position yourselves. Now, when you take your sell, your stop loss is above the candlestick which broke into this line. You understand? That is how you take your stop loss. So when you take your stop loss, our stop loss will basically be above here, which is here, this particular area. So above the candlestick which broke through that line, we have it here. Now that is where you'll be putting your stop loss. Now, where do you initiate your take profit? Now remember, you wait for your two bearish candlesticks, your two red line, your 14 and 7 moving average, which is the blue, the 14 moving average, and the red, which is the 7 moving average, to close below this level. And then you do what? You execute your sales. Are you with me? Now, when you execute your sales, market drop down. What are you looking out for? You look out for market to close above your moving average 14 and 7 moving average. Then you can close your trade. You can see we had a close above the both moving averages. And then what do? We can close our trade. So this is how to close your trade and basically make profit from this particular indicator strategy. Now, I would also make another video to explain more, but that is based on the questions. If you don't understand this particular strategy after watching it, drop your comments on the comment section. Tell me to request that I make more videos on this particular strategy, and I'll do well to give you all of that. Please also note that you should help me by pushing and growing my channel by subscribing to my channel and helping me. That will actually help the algorithm to push my videos out there to more people, telling them that this particular content is a really informative content that would give them impact of knowledge, and then it will just push it out. The algorithm will help me get more people to watch and enjoy this particular wonderful content. Now, we want to now take an entry for what? A buy. Now we're looking for a buy setup. This is actually still a sell setup. So we are simply looking for a buy setup. Now we're looking for a buy setup. Now if we don't see the moving averages above the line, we can't take our buy. Good. So this is a buy setup. Very clear buy setup. How do you execute your trade? The first thing we do, we want to see this moving average above the 26 line. So once we get that confirmation, we can write it down that the moving averages are above the 26 line. That is done. The next thing we want to see is we want to see these lines, which are the MACD ticks lines, are above this 0.00 level. You understand? So we want to see this MACD 797 above the 00 level. Now, when we get it above the 00 level, that's our next confirmation that we can execute and make an entry on the trade. Now, our final confirmation is we want to see a bullish candlestick close above the 48 line. When we see a bullish candlestick close above the 48 line, that is our number one confirmation. And then we want to see this red line, which is the 7 moving average, and the 14 moving average close above this 40, just above. We want to see it above this 48 level. Now, that is a confirmation that helps us to understand that, okay, we can now execute and take an entry. Now, when we do that, we are able to take an entry and we get in for a buy. Now, when we get in for a buy, what do we simply do? We wait until market closes below the 14 moving average, 14 and 7 moving average before we can exit the market. So we can see it did that here, close below, and then we can exit the market with our selling position, closing out from our buy. Now, how do we put our stop loss? We simply said we put our stop loss at the the candlestick which broke above this particular trend line, which is at this point. We simply put our stop loss here, and we can clearly see that where we'll take our exit, our trade is basically at this particular point, at this particular level. So this is exactly how to make use of this strategy, and I've made examples on 2 markets showing you how to buy and showing you how to sell. And then you've seen how it has worked. This is a really working strategy that can help a lot of people start trading and make reasonable profit from the market. Now, this is all it takes. All you need to do is to practice, 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 and practice, and then you will learn how to effectively use this strategy. Peace, guys. One love. Larry FX Academy.